Dave, playoffs confirmed with 2 games to spare. Is the pressure off now a little bit in terms of how you can approach these last 2 games and just see where it takes you?
I suppose to a certain degree, we know that there's always a fallback, if you like, in terms of us having another avenue to achieve an objective. But that still didn't change the fact that we want to try and win our last 2 games, or certainly want to try and win our next game and see where that takes us. Things, the way it is at the minute, are out of our control, and that could be the case, especially after our game and then a game taking place after we play. So our aim is to win on Saturday, and then we can be reactive around what that looks like further on.
I think it wasn't until March that you won a game after going a goal down, but 7 points you've picked up from losing positions in the last 3 games. I'm sure you prefer to stop conceding full stop, but you must be delighted with that mentality that seems to have grown over the course of the season.
Yeah, it's something that we've, like I say, consciously spoke about. It's something that we as a staff look at in our reviews, because it's easy to look at the fact that, I suppose, when you score the first goal in football matches, your increased chance of winning goes pretty high. If you get the second goal, it's obviously very, very high. But when you go behind, sometimes it can be difficult. And I wouldn't say that in the past that we didn't respond well to going behind, because I think there's been plenty of occasions where even going behind, we've performed pretty well, but not quite got the results that maybe our performances deserved. Again, the one that'll stick out straight away is Huddersfield away, in terms of the early goal. From that point on, I thought we were really good in the game. Like I say, there's been other ones. We've gone behind against Birmingham, both home and away. Our second half performances away from home, and most of the game at home was deserving of. We got a point, was deserving of winning the game. But for that to, I suppose, finally happen, gives the players some reinforcement that they're reacting in a good way. I think for us, it's pleasing off the pitch in terms of some of the things we've been doing behind the scenes here, and we've consciously spoken about reaction to disappointment and how we manage games, not just physically and tactically, but also getting over those moments and moving on. So they're, like I say, really, really pleasing bits. And you'd love to score the first goal all the time. Of course, that's the case. But I suppose show that we can do that and have that that backup that it's been done previously puts us in a good space mentally.
1-8 your last 9 at Edgeley Park now, drew the other one. If it is to be playoffs, how important is it now to try and get that 3rd or 4th spot and try and get that home advantage in the second leg of the semi-final?
Listen, I'm not sure how important it is. I've looked at quite a lot of playoff stuff and what the home advantage in the second leg means, and there's always going to be twists, there's always going to be turns. One thing's for certain in a playoff scenario, although you would look at the probably anomaly that says the Peterborough Sheffield Wednesday game, that if you don't perform in the first leg and give yourself too much to do, then it makes the odds if you're playing at home in the second game. That one game would tell you different in terms of, I think it was 4-0, I went 4-0 the other way. But games are normally tight. Of course, if we're at the back end of a 180-minute playoff game, would we prefer the second part of it to be in front of 10,000 of our own supporters rather than 2,000 to 5,000 away from home? Of course, that would give you a little bit of an advantage, but I'm not sure it's the deciding factor in how you progress and how you get yourself certainly into the final to give yourself a chance of promotion.
Confidence is obviously a big thing at this stage of the season, collectively and individually. Big performance from Corey Adai on Monday, and I think you could see that from the reaction the fans he got from the fans at full time. A great moment for him individually. Yeah,
some big saves from Corey, which again I've said before, I said after the game, we know he's capable of doing because statistics show you that over the last couple of years certainly. Again, ideally you wouldn't want him to have to be in a position to make those saves, and I think large moments where he has had to make them saves are down to us being sloppy in our defensive stuff. We've made some mistakes that have resulted in chances for the opposition, and he's pulled us out the mire, would you say, in those occasions, and kept us in the game, which then allows us the other end to go on and win the game, and certainly the opportunity for the game to still be close and go and get those 3 points. So again, you hope it doesn't happen, but the likely is that does happen between now and the end of the season, regardless where you're on the pitch. If you make a mistake, you want your mate to pull you out of it, and he's done that, like I say, 2 or 3 times on Saturday in terms of defenders and not doing things properly. He's like I say, in terms of your backstop and the last line of your defence, his size and his ability to spread himself and make those big saves is going to be massively important.
You have a lot of players unavailable right now, 8 I think it was on Monday, and that has seen you have to tweak your shape quite a lot in recent weeks. You've almost been a 4-4-2 at times. How pleased are you with how you've adapted in pretty challenging circumstances? I'm
really pleased. It's not what I would like it to look like, and I suppose this last few weeks for me has been if you're reflecting, a little bit of a learning piece, because I get as frustrated as anybody, but we are compromised, and that's not an excuse. We're having to, like you say, find different ways, but that then shows the positives of what this group is and what previous groups will be. We aren't one-dimensional. We can find different ways because of different personnel that we normally would have in the team. I suppose what we don't have at the moment is variety. We're having to pick a team, and we're having to manage the game sometimes based on physical data and what players are able to do, and it's a little bit pre-season. You're having to know what subs you might have to make at what times, which isn't ideal because you like to be reactive around what the game looks like. But that's where we are. Like I said, the big pleasing thing, as you said there, is that we've won games on the back of that, and we're going to have to do that over the coming weeks. There will be players coming back that we'll see before the end of the season, and there will be players back if it's a playoff campaign. But until that time, we've got to keep on producing performances that are good enough to win games, and hopefully that will remain the case.
Will any of those players be back in time for Saturday?
Yeah, potentially. So I think we will definitely see Noilly and Ethan before the end of the season. I would potentially say you'll see Rydell, Maka, Powley. I would hope you'd see Beatty, Campsey, possibly Ben, but they might swing into when the playoffs is. Might be for Wickham. And again, depending on where we are after Saturday, we can then be reactive around what the Wickham game looks like for us. One thing's for certain, if we know that it is only the playoffs after Saturday, then we need to make sure that the playoff game becomes the most important, and we won't risk any players, but there might be an opportunity that we need to get some minutes into players, so that game might become a useful one for us. We hope that's not the case, and we hope that there's loads of jeopardy in a positive way on that game in order for us to make other teams within the chase have to go and get positive results in their final game of the season. We know how it can turn, and football at this stage of the year can produce strange results and results that people won't write down. But again, football's not played on paper, so we've got to make that the case if we can. We can only do it by winning on Saturday.
Yeah, and Lincoln can have a very big say in that, can't they? Because obviously they play ourselves at the weekend, but then Wrexham on the final day. And I don't think either of us can expect an easy game because they're finishing the campaign really strongly right now.
Yeah, listen, we know their team well. Obviously, I know Shaw's, who's their assistant, he's on my pro licence. And they've changed a little bit in terms of their shape, but the principles still remain the same around how they go about it. They don't shy away from that. They're really aggressive, the front foot. They spend the least amount of time in the league in terms of build-up. So that says that they'll play forward, but they're really aggressive in terms of their press. Very, very good at picking up setting balls. A huge threat from set pieces, be that long throw-ins, free kicks or corners. And you've got to deal with them aspects. I suppose the positive for us is the next 2 games we have are pretty similar in terms of Wickham aren't too dissimilar to that, and their ability to want to play the ball forward and put pressure and make you defend. And the likelihood is that if it is the playoffs for us, the teams that we come up against are those types of teams. So it will be good for us to have to experience and deal with those types of games over the next two fixtures. But our side of things is, as it always is dealing with that threat and making sure that we impose what we want to do on the game. Hopefully that'll be the case.
Just finally, you spoke a lot about the atmosphere on Monday and the role the supporters can play in getting the lads over the line in the next few weeks. It could be your final home game on Saturday. Do you have a message to the supporters heading into these last few weeks?
Yeah, I've said in my programme notes, I think maybe supporters underestimate the power that they can have within a stadium. I know what I want my teams to be. I want them to be passionate. I want them to be committed. I want them to work hard. The club I suppose strapline is around courage and faith, and for me that's what I want to see, and that's what I think our team should be, and we try and do that. I think what I want to feel, and I feel it a lot of the times, we need to feel it more than ever now, is that replicated in the stands, and them supporters giving everything, because the impact they'll make will be massive. For our players to go out and play in, as you say, a final regular season game and potentially a home playoff game, to be two games possibly in 2024-25 in our first season in League One. That could have a huge impact in what we want to do. So hopefully they play their part, and any success we have will be, again, as much accounted to them as everybody else.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.